Jennifer's transition to the last chapter in Rule of Rose occurs in a unique way compared to other transitions that she makes.
Yes.
Jennifer and Brown run out of the front gate of the orphanage towards a point source of radiant light. It is the same sort of imagery and accounts from near-death experiences and from scenes in literature and film that clearly relates to one's soul going to heaven by going towards the light. So why do we see Jennifer go towards the heavenly light? Could she be dead throughout the game? Not necessarily. The death that leads to Jennifer going towards the light is a death that is part of Jennifer's dream. The ritual or symbolic death of the initiation ritual that I described in my Mystery of Jennifer in the Coffin video. Initiation rites often have imagery relating to death. One dies to one's old self, old life, old status, and has a new beginning. This is why the initiate is placed in the coffin in some initiation rituals. Here are some things that links Jennifer's initiatory funeral and symbolic death to the later scene where she goes towards the light. Number 1, the funeral transition is the transition from the first chapter to the second chapter. The light transition is the transition from the second to last chapter. To the last chapter. They form a symmetrical frame relative to the plot structure of the game. Number 2, objects that would be inanimate in the normal world, such as the bucket knight and the rubbish bin, start talking to Jennifer after the funeral transition. After the light transition, these objects return to being inanimate. Number 3, Jennifer begins to have enemies to battle in the chapter that follows the funeral transition. Jennifer no longer has enemies to battle in the chapter that follows the light transition. In my The Mystery of Jennifer in the Coffin video, I described how the initiation ritual with the coffin brought about Jennifer's transition from the orphanage to the airship. And in another video, Jennifer Through the Looking Glass, I proposed that the airship world was the orphanage world, but transformed by fantasy elements. So one might expect that when Jennifer makes a transition back to the orphanage, beginning with the funeral chapter, she has undone all the effects of the initiation ritual. But this apparently is not the case, because some of the fantasy elements of the airship world have accompanied her to the orphanage. The bucket knight and the rubbish bin still speak to Jennifer, and imps still attack her. Jennifer's transition back to the orphanage is incomplete in its effects. It doesn't completely undo the effects and fantasy elements of the funeral transition. The complete resolution of the funeral transition effects doesn't occur until Jennifer makes the light transition. It is interesting to compare the transitions from the orphanage to the airship with the transition from the airship to the orphanage. To cross over to the airship world, Jennifer falls behind into a coffin. To cross over from the airship world to the orphanage world, Jennifer once again travels backwards. This time she is pulled into the darkness by ropes in the hands of imps. In the light transition, however, Jennifer and Brown go forward. They face their direction of travel. They run towards the light. The plot structure, as it relates to transitions, appears to be this. Jennifer undergoes a ritual or symbolic death, which takes her to another dimension, perhaps hell or purgatory, where she has a false resolution before achieving a true resolution, whereby she finally travels to heaven.